information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
And now back to the Tom Heneghan, Stu Webb, Intel Hour.
Tom, that was a man that saw Illuminati bankers.
I know, that's a great speech. By the way, Stu, real quick.
Go ahead. Go for it, Tom.
You're constantly... Are we on the air again?
Yes. We have 15 minutes.
Okay. The speech that's given by President Kennedy is one of the finest speeches in the history of this country, along with a lot of the speeches of Thomas Jefferson and, of course, James Madison, who wrote the Constitution. I can mention people like Andrew Jackson. What JFK just pointed out today, or pointed out on that tape recording, was the enemies of the American Republican public. And these people were around at his time, which is, of course, over 40 years ago. We now see why the Illuminati, as we call them, ordered his assassination. Because President Kennedy was not going to get involved in secrecy and subversion. And he made the fatal mistake of trying to, it wasn't a fatal mistake, it was the right thing to do, was to eliminate the Federal Reserve under Executive Order 11,110, which would eliminate the central bank, which has basically bankrupted and looted the United States.
AIG, Citicorp, Bank of America,
right.
etc.
And these are the people that murdered him. These people are still around. These are the same people that smeared Caroline Kennedy from becoming a senator in New York State simply because they were afraid that she, like her father, would oppose the Federal Reserve. Now, you can see why they were afraid of her, given that New York State was the headquarters not only for the Central, the New York Federal Reserve Bank and Stephen Freeman, the Bernard Madoff Ponzi scheme, J.P. Morgan, Citibank. It was basically New York State, that is, a crime zone, wasn't it?
It was.
A crime zone. They should put an entire yellow ribbon around New York State. But, of course, as I've stated, there is no Justice Department in this country.
No,
there is no rule of law.
And we're going to test it right here and now. Every Wednesday night, lands at JFK Airport, $1 billion in Russian mob money. Feds, do something about it. Will they do anything? No, they won't do anything. And Bush will continue.
Well,
so
Bush
I broke
is
news out tonight for any of you honest feds, cops. JFK Airport every Wednesday night, Russian mob money in cases in the hull of the plane. Boxes.
Yeah, it's a problem. Now, I can tell you this, that what we're describing to you tonight, folks, is an ongoing crime spree. And this is something that's been going on for many years. And the problem with it is that it escalates every day. It gets worse. They have basically stolen the money they printed. All the money Obama printed, which is an extraordinary amount of money, almost of treasonous proportions.
Bailout, $23.9 trillion by the San Francisco Chronicle. They broke a lot of the Keating stories.
See, what they're not reporting either is that J.P. Morgan is seeing all these commercial real estate derivatives that are due next year. That's going to set the banks into another collapse.
The mortgage derivatives that are the problem are being held by Citicorp, Bank of America, AIG, Merrill Lynch.
Right. And these are the back end of the derivatives, which are the proceeds from this fraudulent activity, enabled, by the way, by that criminal former Securities Exchange Commission Chairman Christopher Cox, who should be arrested immediately.
Put in a jail cell for 150 years. Treason, sedition. Given the penalty. What is treason and sedition in America? It's a death penalty.
Well, he needs to be, upon conviction.
Upon conviction, of course.
He should be hung.
But we need to start arresting. See, the big problem, Tom, the American people have to listen to the show, and everybody else, they know that we're working hard. You are, I am, others try to expose every week what's going on. Try to do something about it. Try to clean it up. But we got those bastards, they're called attorney generals, the control, and the inspector general, the public integrity section, where Lee Reddick and Millman stooge David Mann, who's in charge now, that laundered his bribe through M&L business machines, and I might just post his bribe up tomorrow because I posted the former U.S. attorney in Denver that had me illegally arrested as a political prisoner, Mike Norton's bribe. It's up on the news pages for those that are interested in the media. Just look at M&L. But the point is, everybody is tired of the crap. They want these bastards arrested for what they've done to this country, period. They don't want, and Tom, you bust their rear end. I do too. You beat them in the head with a baseball bat, with the truth. I do too. But the American people are out here in the streets, and I hear it from the gas stations.
Well, now we're being
the quick trips.
The American people are all now being targeted by the Internal Revenue Service.
They want to do something to get involved, change. They want to hear from you and I and others what change has to be and how they can get involved.
You know, I've spoken ad nauseum about these problems for years, warning people of the Bush-Clinton thing years ago. You know, I got involved with people in the 90s when we were pursuing the...
You've been around for 20-some-odd years. I've been around for 25.
When we had people like, when we had Clinton in the office with his sociopathic wife operating as dual president or whatever she was at the time, enabling Bush, setting the groundwork for Bush to come in after Clinton, and then hopefully they plan to bring Hillary in after Bush, and then Bush back in after Hillary. Fortunately, Stu, thanks to our work, we put a little kibosh to their dynasty, haven't we?
We have. Now the American people want to know what can they do to get involved, to put a stop to it. I've heard people say, I'm going to go arrest them. The government's not doing it. What do you suggest?
Well, we've just talked about that earlier. I suggested you set up revolutionary committees all over the country and prepare.
County by county, municipality by municipality.
I would say this tonight. If the U.S. military would finally stand up and do their duty and start arresting these people, it would be a fine day.
They won't do it, in my opinion, Tom. That's my opinion.
Well, let me just repeat what I said.
They may do, but I say this. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know, Stu. I tell you this, as I mentioned to you, I'll give you an example of the problem. I dealt with a lot of people in the 90s that were trying to bust Clinton and bring him to justice. Him and his wife were murdering Vince Foster, murdering William Colby, assassinating John F. Kennedy Jr., trying to assassinate then Vice President Albert Gore by bringing down his...
I know. I felt it once with anthrax myself.
No, all these things were done under the Clinton period, and they were enabled by Bush. And Bush and Clinton were talking on a daily basis. And who was put in charge to investigate Clinton? Kenneth Starr. A stooge for the Red Chinese.
Yeah. I'd like to find Kenny Starr on a beach, but forget about that. Never